Like I've had women tell me that they haven't been able to have sex for a year.
99% of the time men talk about stuff, they're joking around. I'm not getting sex or whatever the case may be. But they're saying it jokingly.
But it's the truth.
It is the truth. It's in the back of their mind, and it doesn't come to the forefront until...
The man feels like being rejected. He's not. It just hurts like hell. And then nobody knows what to do, and it becomes this separating thing.
You have to be emotionally tied to what's happening to your
wife. Oh, I love that.
I'm with you. Let's figure this out.
This is the key to midlife happiness.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vonda Wright, and this is Hot for Your Health. Join us for conversations on the bleeding edge of science, health, and culture as we bring you tech innovators, thought leaders, and the movers and shakers who are transforming science fiction into your new health reality.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Vonda Wright, and thank you for coming back for another episode of Hot for Your Health. You may not realize it, but this podcast has been around for more than a decade, and I always try to bring fascinating people, usually fascinating to me and hopefully fascinating to you, innovators, movers and shakers. And today is a really special day for me because I have a return guest on Hot for Your Health, who is an amazing person. In addition to the fact that almost 15 years ago, we started dating and got married. So today I have Peter Taglianetti, who is not only my husband, but he has a fabulous and rich perspective of his own. He is the father of our blended family of 6 children, which age range go from about 37
to 17.
To 17. So we've got generations in our household. But not only that, in addition to being in construction and being in business and being in broadcasting for 13 years, you spent time playing as a left defenseman in the NHL with 2 Stanley Cups of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think it's a fascinating history that I just love to learn about all the time. Our upstairs living room is a museum of that career. But
that means there's a lot of cobwebs on my pictures.
You're so funny. We've got pictures everywhere. But it's so exciting to me to get to hear your stories, probably 20 times each story. But it's a privilege, actually. But you are a good sport, Peter.
I better be a good sport.
Yeah, you're a great sport, sporting wise. But you are a great sport because you have become the resident expert amongst your golf buddies on midlife, menopause, and perimenopause because of my career. And I'm just going to say, I admire you for being the resident expert. Yeah. I admire you for giving input to those guys, but also because when you think about our history, I tell this story a lot, but then I started piecing it together. I tell the story about my midlife and menopause is that at 40, I was in the best shape of my life before I met you, training for triathlons, 19% body fat, had just had a baby at a time when OBs called me geriatrics. And shortly after that, I met you. And little did you know, until now, probably, until we recognized, because I didn't know, that I went directly from postpartum, which is haywire. You've been through that. You have 5 children. Postpartum to perimenopause. So we go from the hormones of pregnancy to the lack of hormones in perimenopause, and that's about when you met me. And you thought that's the way I was.
My hair used to be jet black, and now...
I know.
Yeah.
But you know what? I didn't know what hit me. And I can only imagine that you didn't know what hit me, because at 47, I tell the story, and you probably remember these times. I had night sweats, brain fog. I had to stick my thermometer leg out of the covers just so I didn't boil us in the same bed together. I had anxiety that I never had before. I was enraged all the time, to the point where you said about this perfect job that I had, Vonda, if you don't like it, let's make a change, but quit talking about it, because it was every day, all day, right? And then physically, it wasn't easy anymore for me to be lean, to be an athlete. So I didn't know what hit me. And so I can only imagine what you thought was going on. I mean, now we know what's going on. And thank God, I feel like I've mastered this, although you may differ. I mean, we are an open book, because I think we're going to help a lot of people. So I wanted to have you back on Hot for Your Health to talk about midlife menopause from the husband, the partner's perspective. You've lived this with me. You hear me talking about it all the time. I personally feel in a much better place than I've been in a long time. Because when I talk about menopause, I talk about it as the menolescence. I know you've heard me say that word. It's hormonal, it's physical, it is psychological, it is social, it affects everybody around me. And the data of Louise Newsom, who's a famous menopause doctor in the UK, amongst her patients, 73% of her patients can attribute their midlife divorces after 20 years of marriage to going through menopause and people not understanding each other. So I wanted to get your perspective. I mean, you have to live with this all the time, this conversation. So based on this, what are your initial thoughts? Because I'm going to keep asking you questions. Did you even know I was going through this? You just thought I was getting gripey.
Well, honey, before I met you, I had no idea what menopause was.
Yes.
So,
I didn't know what it was in my 40s.
And I don't think anybody in my generation growing up knew their parents or mom was going through
Did you know
stuff
your
like
mom
that.
went through this?
No idea. No idea. And so, I mean, obviously, it blindsides everybody. Especially the woman who really didn't understand it and has to go through it, and mostly the time by themselves. So I go out on a limb and say 95% of the women go through it by themselves. But it's funny when we started getting together and you're starting to go through this change, and as we got married, you didn't really say anything about it because I don't think you understood what was happening. And I was in construction, so I was working a lot of time, 14 hours a day, whatever it was in my job, and working nighttime. So I didn't get to see a lot of that, in nighttime and I hear about it in the morning when I get home from, at 6 o'clock in the morning, what it was when you were away to work. And I think a lot of women suffer through that by themselves. And I think a lot of the issues that couples have is one. I mean, I'm a guy. I get it. We're idiots, and just like we tell our daughters, boys are idiots. They have no clue what's going on. They just kind of go haphazardly through their, doing their things. And I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of them don't understand it. And I think sitting down and listening to you, and by the way, the thermometer leg thing was mine because it was. Yeah,
you made that up.
It was like a blast furnace in our bed. I just had to get out from underneath the covers because I got to sleep.
So when you said, Vaughn, you're so hot, you were literally meant temperature hot.
Temperature hot.
Temperature hot.
No, but I think a lot of men in my generation, the 60-year-olds now, and in the 50s. 50-year-olds, and quite frankly, the 40-years.
Yeah.
They have their.
You were in your 40s when you met me.
Yeah, they have their career. They're doing their thing, and it's stereotypical or whatever you want to say. Men come home from work and I want dinner on the table, blah blah blah, get the kids ready for bed and all that kind of stuff, and not really understanding what the woman is going through.
Yeah.
And I think I understand a little bit more, and I'm. It's probably because all my whole career playing hockey, getting yelled at all the time. I take it, I figure it out, I decipher what I need to do and get it done. But sitting with you as you were going through this, it was eye-opening because you're a very outgoing person. You don't like speaking gibberish or just kind of small talk with people. If you want to talk about something serious, let's talk about something serious. And once you wanted to start talking serious about it, wow, okay, now I have to listen. And I think a lot of men don't understand that fact that even just getting it off your chest, even just getting it out in the open was eye-opening for me
Yeah.
because I had no idea you were going through any of this stuff. And
Well, I think for any of my listeners who are now having their husbands sit down to listen to this, I mean, perimenopause and the changes in hormones on average start at 45. So that's why it's so critical in our relationship, because that's about the time we're thinking about getting married. So it starts at on an average of 45, but it can start as early as 35, right? It can be a long time. So if nobody knows what's going on, it can become a communication barrier when people say we just grew apart. Well, if that seems logical if she doesn't know what's going on and he's clueless. And so how do we even put words around what's going on? But men need to realize that when estrogen walks out the door, her brain is starving, her heart is decaying, her bones are going away. And on top of that, there's a much higher incidence of anxiety, depression, rage, because of the brain effects. So that's going to affect relationships.
it is, and I think, and going the same thing's happening to men too. They're going through things that they don't understand either, and their body's changing, and their testosterone's dropping, and there's a lot of things, and they're trying to figure it out themselves. So if they're not actively telling the woman, what they're going through, the woman's not telling the men what to do. So it's a communication thing because everybody goes through it. Yeah, you might have some lulls in your marriage and stuff like that, and that could be the hormonal things. That could be the testosterone thing. There could be a lot of things involved. The anxieties of your work and paying the bills and all that kind of stuff. And I think not being able to communicate is the biggest issue. Is if the woman's not brave enough or sincere enough or whatever the word is to tell her husband exactly what they're doing.
She may not know.
Yeah, but
what's going on.
Just her
just saying I don't feel good,
and not exploring the rest of it. And not understanding the cycles and the processes of menopause and perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Men do the same thing. So there's a two-way street, but the communication part of it is knowing that this can possibly happen. And I don't think a lot of young women know that this can happen as early as in their 30s.
Yeah, that's right.
So that whole cycle's starting and all of a sudden that drags off for like 15, 20 years. And next thing you know, it blows up. Right.
And do you think that, because women don't understand, do you think men have a concept that...
No. None whatsoever.
No, but that when their wife's body is changing, it's not because she is lazy or wants it to change. It's just a hormonal problem. No idea, right?
No clue.
And so all the yammering about...
You put on 15, 20 pounds.
Yeah. Why aren't you exercising more? Blah, blah, blah. It's kind of not helpful.
No, and I say it this way, and it's... that changes, the hormonal changes happen. But even at a younger age, in the 20s, what they're eating, what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
It starts the process, right? And
Yeah.
men do the same thing. And so all of a sudden men had a six-pack. Now it's more of a, one pack, and then it's like a little bit of a belly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it's... even though that starts technically in the early 30s, mid 30s, it starts. A lot of that stuff can be for men to be proactive in their 20s and learning all this stuff. And I said, we do this thing. We took my testosterone level.
Yes,
and it was at 645 or whatever it was.
It was decent.
But nobody, when I was 21, maybe it should be over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a really good thing for men to get that type of
because in
baseline.
Men, right? Because testosterone is not just about sex and muscles; it is about mood.
It helps.
It does. We're going to talk about sex later. Our children are going to be embarrassed, but testosterone is not just about muscles and sex. It's about mood.
Right.
I have lots of men come in very low energy, a little depressed, not like themselves, and you don't know why the heck that's happening. Yeah. Maybe you're working harder. Yeah. Well, that's the same with women, right? And so how do you think, and we have great communication, but we don't have perfect communication. But if you were advising people you don't know, How could, if a man recognizes that something's going on, how would, if you weren't married to me, you approach it? I mean, how would you start the conversation other than carefully?
Ego in men are off the charts. I mean, they may not know why, but they're always afraid to bring up the sex thing, that it's not happening, for whatever reason.
We're going to talk about that.
But the point I'm trying to make is that nothing that men and women, if they're not ready to talk about it and be open and honest about it, then that's thing can linger on. So I think when you ask this question about how would you approach this or whatever it was, if I did not meet you and know you and see the things that you're bringing to the public's eye, I'd be a 62-year-old guy with low testosterone and my body falling apart, because I never would not ask for help, and a lot of men are like that.
So if a man's not going to ask for help, he's probably not going to. It's not probably going to hit him to ask his wife how he can help her.
Right.
Well, we've got a little bit of a stalemate here.
We do.
How are we going to get around this?
Well, I think by you and the menopause.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you know that word.
the menopause.
Menopause. Don't you love that he knows that word?
Other than me not going to med school, I know more about menopause than anybody.
Well, that's why you're here today.
You bringing it to the forefront and letting young ladies know in the age of 20, people who, are just getting pregnant now in their 30s. And listen, this could come up much more quickly than you think might happen.
Well, then let's talk so we're going to tell the women, me and the menopause and all my girlfriends. So let's talk to the men. Let's talk to our 4 sons, right? They've got wives in their 30s or...
Yeah.
What do they need to know is coming, and how? Because listen, you're a role model on many fronts, not only sports, but fatherhood, everything. What can you teach them then? If the 62-year-old guys are a lost cause, sorry guys, what are we going to teach our millennial sons so that when our daughters are going through this, what would you want them to say?
I think, I don't know what they need to say to their wives, or the wives need to say to them, other than they have to be honest and say, I'm not feeling well. Start the process that way. I'm not something going on. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's the flu bug. I don't know what it is, but they have to say, listen, I'm not feeling well. We need to figure this thing out, and start at that juncture. Where do you go? Do you go to your GP? Do you go to a women's hospital? Do you go to a hormone specialist? Where do you go to figure this stuff out? And then the process can start, how they can communicate what exactly, all right, this is what we found out. This is how we need to get to a certain level. And I think, and just because hear you talking about it, a lot of the physicians who aren't in this field kind of poo-poo it.
They do, but I want to talk about, what are we going to tell our 4 millennial sons to be prepared for?
Be prepared for some anxiety. Be prepared for depression. Be prepared for the body changing a little bit, or a lot of bit. There's a lot of things that they can help out with. One good thing about our family, and we'll say this, they're all really, really, really active. They are out running. They're out doing their weights. They're doing that stuff.
Family of athletes.
So it helps in that process that they at least have a base to deal with.
But how should they listen?
Well, we can tell them until we're blue in the face, and we can tell them exactly what is going to happen. Now, will they believe it at that particular time because they don't see any of the symptoms? Who knows? They may not. But if we alert them to where they are now, and maybe 5 years from now, oh wow, we did hear it. Vonda and Dad,
there's something going on. Maybe I better. So it's an awareness.
It is an
even
awareness.
In the young guys.
And young guys and young women, because they understand that this is a possibility that could be happening very soon.
So there's an awareness. Hopefully there's a understanding of, we're just going to have to work on this together. It's a family issue. It's a social issue. I'm going to assume there's no role for figure it out, put up, shut up.
No, and I think the other part of it is too is they have to be willing to put the egos aside and say, all right, I've come home from work, I'm dead tired, whatever the case may be, I get the kids tonight. I'm going to take care of this. And ease the burden as much as possible, as much as you can.
Because you're referencing the fact that in our family, in our nuclear family, in our children's families, and in many households, a woman works during the day and then comes home and absorbs 80% of the household. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is be a better sharer of the work so she can actually relax in this time that's really hard. Mm-hmm. What do you think about our sons, think about your golf buddies. What baseline do they need to know? Like if you were going to design the Pete Taglianetti course for men on menopause, what are the 5 things they need to know? Just they're like, okay.
I think the first thing is not avoiding the situation.
Oh, I love that.
It's there. It's in front
inevitable,
of you.
It's coming.
Don't avoid it. And taking off, and I'm going to play golf with my buddies, or I'm going to go to the bar, or whatever it is. No matter who it is, not my golf, not to say my golf buddy, but anybody. I'm going to go, to my
just
buddies, whatever, just escape
mm-hmm.
it. And I think that starts.
That can happen.
It's starting the ball rolling down that hill.
I see that in the OR.
Mm-hmm.
I see people hanging out in the OR long after their cases are done.
And I think they have to realize that I don't think anybody knows. You hear the word hormones, testosterone. You hear all these words. I don't think anybody realizes exactly what they do to their bodies, and especially men. Men don't get it. They may say they do, but they don't. And I'm only saying this because I know my body was kind of going down that little slope there, and I had to readjust everything I did to either stave it off or start climbing back up again. Yeah. And a lot of guys have no idea the impact of those type of things that happen to them, and they definitely don't know what's happening to their wives. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, she's going through the change, whatever,
What does that mean when people say that to each other?
Well, I think.
And what is that emotion that if you guys are sitting around the men's grill,
honestly, I think guys don't give a shit.
And they say the change.
I think a lot of guys don't give a shit.
What?
They just don't. It's in the back of their mind, and it doesn't come to the forefront until everything blows up.
Well, that's what I want. Okay, so number 1, you said in the Pete Taglianetti course for men on menopause, be aware. What's the second thing? Because you can't not give a shit. The person's in your house, you're in their house.
You have to be emotionally tied to what's happening to your wife.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
You have to be. I mean, if you really care about this person,
all
right, I'm with you. Let's figure this out. I'm going to go to the doctor with you. We'll figure this thing out and not get it second or third hand. Just go and figure that out and be emotionally invested in the commitment you make. I mean, and there might be underlying issues other than that blows up.
Of course, there could
whatever.
be things
going. But this is something that if you're involved and you want to stay involved, then this is something you do. You be emotionally involved with her, whatever decision she's making.
Yeah.
Whatever doctor she goes to for this.
So once I started to figure this out, 47, I was hit by a train track. I felt like I was hit by a wall, a truck. This is how I describe it. And so I didn't know what was going on. You probably didn't know what was going on. You knew something was going on. And then I started to figure it out. I feel like you did. You stayed engaged. Like you picked up more than 50% of everything that goes on in our house. You really stayed engaged with this. So I love that advice that you're giving people. What else? Okay, so learning about it, staying engaged. What else needs picking up more than your share of the household things? What is the third thing? Now that we've reached this point.
Well, I think the third thing is, nutrition part of it. Figuring out that, all right, let's start a nutrition program.
As a family.
As a family. I'll do it with you as well, blah, blah, blah. And we'll try to, all right, eat healthy. Not driving down the road, hey, let's stop, pick up a burger or something like that.
So what you're saying is that as she's trying to figure this out and feel better, it becomes the family's standards,
Well, the family,
not just her alone.
well, the family gets affected, totally affected by it.
Yeah.
Doesn't, husband, wife, kids,
Yeah.
anybody that's around that
Mm-hmm.
nuclear base is going to be affected by this. So we're all going to jump on the train and
Yeah.
move down the road.
So there's learning about it, there's staying engaged, there's making the lifestyle standards of family matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think men do not know. You did not know until I told you. You sometimes still tease me, although I think we figured this out, that during perimenopause, sex feels like razor blades.
I've been told.
No, I know, because you know now, but it doesn't anymore. We have mastered this. But I don't think most men know that.
No.
And they just feel rejected. Did you ever feel rejected?
Well, I because of my work I was doing,
You were gone a lot.
A lot of nighttime I was gone.
Oh,
So,
so your job saved us.
Yeah, so basically, my sweating my ass off for 16 hours a day was, no, guys don't know that. Women are probably afraid to tell them that's
Women are a little ashamed, right?
Yeah, and they don't know what it, and
what it is, why it's like
so
that.
So men, out of their heads, they don't think about it. They all right.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, she doesn't want to have sex with me. I'll just figure something else out, and unfortunately, that's what a lot of you hear the stories is. When the people get divorced, is that
we just grew apart.
I forgot what's the court thing they say.
Irreconcilable differences,
or whatever, the lack of.
Oh, I don't know.
Whatever it's called.
I don't know.
I watch a lot of cop things. I got to figure that thing out. But but I think that is a lot of, like, when they go into a divorce court, they lack of sex or whatever it is and
and then it becomes hard to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, once it goes on and on, it becomes hard to talk about it, and then it becomes a thing. And then I'll tell you that when women describe this to me and to the menopause, they're like, it's not that I don't love this person anymore. It's just that it physically is excruciating. Mm-hmm. And so for right now, if you guys listening get nothing from this, the minute that starts happening, you find a way for your wife to get some vaginal estrogen. Right?
Yeah.
That's the advice you give everybody. I'm giving.
Well, I don't go. Hey guys, nice birdie putt. By the way, get your wife some estrogen.
Listen, you would
vaginal
save
estrogen.
so many marriages if you said that to them. Yeah. Or I'm going to have Vaughn write that for you.
Or somebody could hit me with a 9-iron. One or the other. But yeah.
Listen. I grew up in a locker room. I have no false opinion of what men talk about. Yeah. This is the key to midlife happiness, if that's a problem. Yeah. So anyway, blah, blah, people listening. So I think it's really easy for people to feel rejected because then the man, it hurts like hell. The man feels like being rejected. He's not. It just hurts like hell. And then nobody knows what to do. And it becomes this separating thing. Like I've had women tell me that they haven't been able to have sex for a year. That's going to take a toll. Mm-hmm. On relationships, right?
No, it's good, and then we talked about the communication part of it. Yeah. If you're not, and we first get married in your 20s or early 30s, if you're not ready to talk about things like this, no matter what, any intimate type thing,
right? Any intimate conversation,
it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and then when it does hit, then you're never going to get roll back the time and figure that out.
Well, and you know what? It just made me think about what you're saying. If young couples have never done hard things together, mm-hmm. like it's pretty smooth sailing, easy peasy, whatever, everything goes, or haven't done hard projects together, or just anything, whether it's family-wise or we remodeled a house together and we didn't kill each other, so I thought, we can do hard things together. Before we were married. And then you hit this and you have no tools for doing hard things together. That can get kind of rough.
Well, I think the other part of it is, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but with you being in a locker room all the time, mm-hmm.
as a sports doctor, people.
As a sports
yes,
doctor.
I'm a sports doctor.
And me growing up.
And you being a pro athlete.
But we're used to yell, scream, F-bomb each other, blah, 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 and then it's done and over with. You know, when I was playing, I get into a fight with a guy, I'd probably have a beer with him afterwards.
Yes.
We don't hold grudges. The problem with a lot of relationships is, as soon as somebody yells, like, what the F is going on, blah, 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 and then that barrier goes up, and you'll never get past it. That part of it has to say, listen, I know, I don't even know how to explain it, but I know that if I get in a fight with somebody, it's over and done with. It really is done. I mean, I've said my piece, I'm over and done with, and we move on. And I think a lot of the couples who go kind of get into this thing, not being able to communicate, and then all of a sudden the yelling and a rage situation happens, then it shuts it down totally, and you're never going to get back. And I think that's where people have to realize, you might get mad at somebody, whatever, but your spouse, whatever it is, but then it's over with. What do they say? Never go to bed angry, or one of those type things. It's never going to be 100% like that. But if it's at 80%, you can get it down to 40%. All right, tomorrow we'll talk about it. We'll calmer heads and things like that. And I think I think a lot of people have to really understand that part of it.
So, do you think that, a lot of different kind of men, the average guy, because I say that because you've been in a lot of environments, in the professional environment, in the hard work environment, in the sports environment. Do you think guys in those environments would be willing to listen to a menopause podcast or pick up a menopause book just to figure out so that you can have a conversation?
I'd say about 40% would. If they really cared about their spouse, they would. Yeah.
Is that something that you think would be helpful?
I think it'd be very helpful for people that don't understand it. I hate to say the word dumb it down so they really understand it.
Yeah. Well, I think that most women don't know the appropriate anatomic terms of reproductive organs in women. I think women don't know that estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are not sex hormones. They're hormones, like thyroid hormone, right? So probably most men don't either. They think estrogen's for women, testosterone's for men. That's not true. Women make more testosterone than they do estrogen. But I think there's this huge knowledge gap. So if they could read a book.
Yeah. Well, just remember the first time we did my blood work.
Yeah.
My estrogen was really high.
Yes.
And even though my testosterone, whatever it was, they blocked it a little bit. And within, the first month and a half, 2 months, it's like I felt like a whole new person.
Because your testosterone, because your hormones were off. Well, imagine what a woman goes through.
Exactly. So, so even for a man to understand that can happen to their body, and all of a sudden they can relate more to what the woman is going through.
Well, I think there's good examples of that. I mean, on every men, if you're listening, or women, if you're listening, think of this perspective. On every single street corner, doctor, no doctor, qualification, no qualification, a man can get testosterone any friggin' where. Because men are so in tune with, I don't feel right, I don't feel virile, I'm going to go find an answer. The thing that's remarkable to me is that is not the same urgent attitude that's happening for women.
Well, but just very archaic for the woman is concerned. All the studies have always been towards men.
Oh, well, there's that. I'm so proud that you know that.
You know what I mean? So like the studies from 50, 60 years ago, well, how does men relate to this? Or how can men, whatever. And what, 1 to 5% of the studies were for women?
1%. I am so proud that you know that. You are so thoroughly indoctrinated.
Remember, my estrogen was kind of high, so I get it all.
You're so, that's, I'm about to swear.
I'm about to cry.
Are you about to cry? So we talked about staying present. We talked about communicating. You don't think guys will read a book, but maybe they can identify with their own hormonal changes, because men, too, in midlife don't feel great.
But I think the better option would be to go see in person somebody like you speaking, and you're, sorry, just hit the microphone, and the menopause speaking in all different avenues, because seeing it in person
is very different.
Is different than reading about it. And I don't care what anybody says, visual is always better than the audio. And once you see it and actually engage in what is being said, I think that opens up a lot of people's eyes, and it opens up a lot of women's eyes when you talk who are going through this, not knowing what it is, and men are way on the other side of it, have no clue.
So do you think if we have to choose a common denominator that's going to get us the most progress in talking to our partners, male partners in particular, about what's going on, should we start not by talking about our hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog, anxiety? Should we start by talking about sex and then bringing in the rest of it? Because I'm looking for a common denominator. And I think if you want to get somebody's attention, talk about the thing that's bothering them the most. Because if someone really cares, they're going to care that you feel bad, but probably they're going to also care that for some reason you're not having sex anymore. Do you think that, or am I making that up?
If it's
How would have that landed with you?
Yeah, but if it's happening near, if it's the change is starting in your 30s, and
45 on average.
Yeah, whatever. But I mean, if you can get people to understand what's going to happen in their 30s,
of course.
But that's the problem, is that it's not happening to them yet, so they're not really affected by it.
Let's talk about people our age then.
But as you work into your 40s and this is happening, I think with the publicity you guys are getting right now, and more people are understanding it, and more women are openly talking about this where they didn't talk about it before, is going to help the situation.
Oh, I agree. But the reality is, there is a vacuum, right? Meaning I, and therefore you, are so in this. I think everybody knows, but every day in my orthopedic clinic, and I'm an orthopedic surgeon, I have women coming in who have barely heard about it. I have women in our very own community that are whispering about it like it's a naughty word. And so we live in a vacuum where we're talking about this and your friends are asking you and they're like, hey, I saw your wife on this thing. But I think lots of people aren't there yet.
No. Majority of people aren't there yet. I'm just saying that now that people are talking about it openly, where it was behind closed doors and whispering to their best friend or whatever it is, now women aren't afraid to go into a group of 30 or 40 people and start talking about it, which was taboo before.
Yeah.
And men do the same thing. I mean, men, and believe me when I say this, 99% of the time men talk about stuff, they're joking around. They're not serious about it. They'll say something haphazardly, they'll off the cuff or whatever it is, and they're not serious about it. But they, it's like, I'm not getting sex or whatever the case would be. But they're saying it jokingly.
But it's the truth.
It is the truth. But that's not something two guys are going to sit down and say, hey, Bob, I'm not having sex. Because the guy's going to say, what the F is wrong with you? One of those type things. And so,
well, there could be something wrong with them, but it could also be that they're midlife.
And men are afraid to bring that thing up, whatever. So they're not going to tell you exactly what's going on with their wife. Other than my wife's being a bitch.
So you know what? If that's happening, if there are any men listening, if that's happening, here's what I suggest. And you want to figure out what's going on, I would come at it with a deep empathy and say, you make this up, but hey, honey, I was flipping through Instagram and some lady came up and was talking about menopause and how painful sex is. Is that something that you're experiencing, to open the door? Because that comes from a state of deep empathy versus what's wrong with you? We're not doing anything.
Yeah, but that's great. And anything you can do to help the situation, but the same thing goes. If they're not willing to talk about it,
well, yeah, maybe they're ashamed. Women are.
Yeah,
because they think there's something wrong when this is nature.
If a husband comes in, honey, what's wrong? Nothing. Or the wife says, hey, honey, I got to talk to you about some personal issues I'm having. Geez, what the hell, And so I think that is where it has to come to a mutual understanding that you have to talk about this. It doesn't matter how painful or how uncomfortable it is. You got to talk about it at some point. And the earlier you talk about stuff.
When did you decide that you're comfortable, or you're not, and you're here because you love me?
When you made me.
I knew you were going to say that.
No, but I think it's more comfortable that I've heard it.
Yeah, a lot of times.
I understand it. I get it now. And even when you have some of your seminars and things like that, and women say, "Oh, you're Vonda's husband," and they come up and say, "My whole life has changed because I started talking and listening and being proactive in what's happening in the past year or so, or 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is." If they're willing to come up to a total stranger and tell me, "Oh my God, everything she said, I went through."
Yeah.
Go home and tell your husband that. Go tell your boyfriend that.
Yeah, just discuss it.
Just discuss it with him.
Do you think, because you listen to a lot of podcasts or you're on social media a lot, do you think there is room for this conversation in the truly bro spaces like Joe Rogan or This Greatness podcast? Or is there room in the truly bro culture to talk about this?
Yes, and especially somebody like a Joe Rogan, because he talks about
a lot of things.
But everything that's going on with your person's body, whatever new type of drug is out there, or is it good or is it bad? He's not afraid to talk about it. He's not afraid to talk about how his body's transformed over time and how he got better. And some of the people you have on do the same thing. I mean, they go see a specialist. They understand what's happening in their body, and they make those necessary changes. And I think, and once we'll go back again, and I know this because of hearing you and your friends and your colleagues talk about it. And then as you go through the media and all the stuff like that, women get pushed right to side. I mean, most of this, and so there's not there are avenues, but there's not the big avenue to let's barrel down this thing and let hundreds of millions of people hear this thing. Unfortunately, you're doing the regional spots here, spots there, and getting in front of 1,000 people or 500, 1,500 people or 4,000 people, and the podcast is reaching more. But it's not that. And honestly, I think the government has to get more involved in this. I think the government.
How so?
I think the government, when you just went to speak to the FDA about the hormones and the estrogen and things like that, I think they have to put and they put all these committees together all the time. They do all these things, and nothing ever comes out of it. It's kind of like blah blah blah. We'll just placate some of these people that are out there, and here's what we're going to do. And you basically got to go bash the door down and say, no, do this. It's millions and millions of women are suffering. And you guys are just talking all the time. You have people who have no business being in this field, trying to dictate what goes on in this field. And
I love that advocacy in you.
But even to the point the other day where you were talking about an insurance company didn't want to pay for 2 parts of a surgery, whatever it is, and you're talking to a non-orthopedic surgeon.
Right.
Making
decisions.
Reading off a playbook that the insurance company we're not going to do this, and they have no idea about your surgery.
Yeah.
Same thing is about women, in the hormones, the estrogen, and all that kind of stuff. You have people who never studied it, never did anything. They get on a board somewhere, and all of a sudden they start blah 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 blah, and they placate everybody, and that's the way it goes, and it gets kind of pushed to the side. And at some point, somebody's going to listen, and somebody's going to say, no, this is you got half your population suffering here.
I love that you know this so well, and I love that you just got so passionate about it, because I think, honestly, I appreciate so much that you're sitting here. I know this is an expression of this is how you love me. You help me. You have my back. That's your love language, is having my back. But the fact that a big, tough, rough, pro hockey player can learn enough about something to have a conversation on national broadcast because it's important to our family life, I think that for this truly to pivot in this country, that other men who see you do it have to do it. Yeah. Because women cannot fight this fight alone.
No.
And nor should they.
No, and men and women should not have to fight this alone. But they also need advocates. And that's the problem that people are having now is they're going to see their GP who doesn't understand it, and now they have to go hunt somewhere else to find it. You get a Surgeon General who quit med school, and
we don't have one right now.
Well,
she hasn't been nominated. She hasn't been approved.
but that's who they're looking for, who quit med school, and all of a sudden she's going to tell people what to do.
Quit residency, not med school.
Whatever, same thing. It's the same thing. I mean, whatever.
Just to be clear, someone's going to write about that.
But it's a perfect example of her advocacy. She wants to be is, hey, women are suffering. We're going to do this. We're going to make this thing right. They have some 70-year-old guy before, whatever the case might be. You don't give two shits about a woman.
You know what? To your point, I would love to see the level of advocacy about this subject that Richard Carmona, the 17th Surgeon General of the United States, and what he did is he banned smoking inside, and it changed our country. I would like to see that kind of advocacy. No excuses, no apologies. We're going to change the health of this country. And let's start with the women who are 51% anyway. And if we're politicians only interested in politics, that's your voting base, 51% of this country.
And it's not on party lines either. It's like
it doesn't
matter
if political.
It's not political at all. This is what it is.
It is human. It is human caring for humans. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I love that you came and cared for me by being here, but I think that by men like you speaking out and saying, I am here because this is a family, we have generations of children that need to know this, because I feel like this conversation is not about us. It's about the people listening to us, but it's also, I say this all the time, I do not want my millennial children to suffer the way I suffered. And so I want my 4 daughters not to have to suffer. They're going to know. Our daughters are married to our marvelous, our daughters-in-law and daughter married to our marvelous sons and son-in-law. I don't want them to have to go through this in their computer. So this kind of conversation.
Well, you always want something better for the next generation.
Better for the next generation.
Yep.
Yeah. And, I can tell you for sure Isabella's not going to stand for feeling bad because she's grown up in this environment.
Oof.
So that's great. Well, Peter, thank you for coming back to Hot for Your Health. And who knows, we may go on this national tour of advocacy, getting whole families involved in menopause and midlife. I'm speaking it into the universe.
That's right. Thank you, honey. I love you.
I love you.
Thanks for joining us on Hot for Your Health, where we bring you conversations from the bleeding edge of science, health, and culture. You can find links from today's show and connect with me at drvondawright.com. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Dr. Vonda Wright. See you next week.